Hey guys, back again. This time I'm reviewing UFC Ronda Rousey Breaking Ground. Look at that cover. I think that cover's so cool. Mwah! And it's a good documentary. It's only 40 minutes long, but it's really, really good and it's really tight. And to be honest with you, I've seen other UFC documentaries and they're not as great as this. They either have nothing going on in them or they have too much going on in them. Like, for instance, the Hoist Gracie one, I think it's like an hour or so, like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it feels like it drags on for most of it. Like the Matt Hughes one. As much as I love them both, it felt like it could have been shorter. And this does the job perfectly. It's the Ben Henderson and the Forrest Griffin one don't. But I'm going to review them anyway, again, in the future. So, don't matter. I can say about it then. So, basically, this is about Ronda Rousey and her journey to becoming the UFC champion from her being a child and having all the problems she's had in her life to being the inspiration for female MMA. So basically, it starts off with the fact that she was born dead. She wasn't breathing. And her dad and her mum were devastated. And then she was able to be brought back. And they were like, and then it turned out when she got to about 2 years old, she still couldn't talk. So the mum was basically told it was because of the oxygen deficiency when she died when she was a baby. So basically that got fixed and it basically worked out good in the end. And obviously because Ronda Rousey can talk like the best of them now. And her dad, it says that there's a bit about Ronda and her dad, about how close they were, and he always grabbed hold of her and took her swimming, and he'd be screaming at her from the pole, come on, you can do it. You know, like any dad who supports their child. And you can tell that they had a very, very close connection because of how upset she gets later on. You've also got a mother who was a judo medalist in the Olympics. And basically, you think about it, you've got a dad who pushes you to swim. You've got a mum who's like a judo expert who's grabbing hold of you and teaching you judo. You're going to have focus. You're going to have focus beyond focus because you're going to be like a warrior, you know? You're going to be like a one-man army, or in this case, a one-woman army. So then you hear in the interview, well, in the documentary, that her dad got terminally ill. They did say what it was, but I can't remember the exact words. But you find out that her dad's got really ill and he passed on, and it was a big tragedy for her and her mum and her sister and that. And that's an obvious thing, really. So then it goes, now when it cuts to different parts of the documentary, it's in a comic book form, like, you know, the Walking Dead comics are black and white. It's like that. And it's really well done because it'll go to like a picture like of Ronda versus Ronda, and it'll have this big character over the little character, and it's just really well done. I highly recommend watching this if you're a comic book MMA fan because you'll enjoy both of them parts. So then it basically shows her as a junior and her mum taking her to these places to learn to win judo matches. And you meet basically a guy who trained with her and he runs his own gym. And they tell the story about how when Ronda used to lose, she would cry. And about how Pill would go to her mother, why don't you hug her? She's crying. And her mother would go, if I hugged her all the time, she would never stop crying, basically. You know. And I thought that was quite a good point. Because so many people, they do that, don't they? I mean, if I started crying right now and Donna was about, she'd come and hug me. If she started crying tomorrow, I'd hug her. So it's understandable, that thing, especially when you're trying to make somebody be able to be a proper martial artist. There needs to be discipline and you need to have very strong thing and not be able to get upset at everything. Sadly, from watching The Ultimate Fighter, Team Rousey versus Team Tate, she cries through almost all that and gets angry. But anyway, it's a different story for different reviews. So it goes about juniors and her basically becoming better and better, and then her becoming, making herself sick to make herself get the weight. And I'm just sitting there going, wow, she's gone through quite a lot, this woman. She said the only way to make herself feel better and hit weight, because you have to get to a certain weight and cut down so you can get to it. She'd have to put her fingers down front and be sick. And I was like, ooh, you know. So then she got into the Olympics and she lost to somebody, and it really pushed her backwards because she wanted to keep winning. Now I can understand that. I've done some martial arts stuff in the past, and when you think you're really good and then you lose like boom, it's not good. It makes you feel like, huh? Why could I lose? I was doing so well. Well, the point is of this, in my view, is what we've got to remember is there's always someone better than us, and we're all technically one when we're fighting. You know, so it's like we're fighting, but with the only way we can actually win is by understanding what it's like to lose. So I could understand. So basically, she ends up winning next time, and then she gets the call to do MMA. And she goes, okay, why not? And then it shows kind of like highlights from the matches, of the first few matches from Strikeforce Challengers, both of them, because there was two of them. And then there's the Strikeforce with Rousey and Tate. And now, when it gets to that part, the Tate, the Ronda Misha fight, this is where you know that technically this fight is what hit the UFC. So basically, the Misha Tate Ronda Rousey fight in Strikeforce for the title was the fight that was like the Tito Ortiz Chuck Liddell fight in the UFC when they finally clashed. It was so much bad blood, so much bitter rivalry, but it was one of those things that you had to watch. You had to see, and it made great television, and it also made a great fight. And in the fight was awesome as well. So you got that for the first for the championship. So Ronda basically beats Misha with an armbar and breaks her arm. Yeah, Ronda's got a thing about breaking people's arms when she does the armbar. I think I would too if somebody's mouthing off and I wanted to teach them a lesson. So she does that, and then it goes on about their rivalry a bit, and then it says on to the next fight, which was against Kaufman. Ronda versus Kaufman. And now, this was the match, but before this match, Dana White was asked, and it was shown a few times in the documentary, he was asked, when are we going to see women in the UFC? And he'd go, never. Don't want any of that. Well, he was sitting in a Strikeforce arena, and he was watching firsthand Ronda versus Kaufman. And what's amazing about this is that they were fighting, and when she got her in like this armbar, she got it right in front of his view while actually looking at him while she was doing it. I don't think it was on purpose, but I think when she realised it was like, yes, because she really wanted to get MMA into the UFC, female MMA, like female fighters. Sound a bit silly then, but you know what I mean. So it was like a really good match. And he said after that he couldn't not basically have women's MMA in UFC because he saw how aggressive Ronda was, and she saw what real female fighting was like. But it can be just as good as men fighting. So she basically gets the call, and she's like, what? She said that's how she does it in the documentary. And she gets the call to go to the UFC. And her first fight is against Camooch. I might have said that wrong. Camooch. And there's a good bit there because you see the highlight of that match. Now, the problem with it is the matches are not really that long other than the Misha Tate and the Rousey Camooch match, from what I remember. And the others are kind of like 10, 20, 40 seconds kind of thing. So by showing highlights of them, technically you don't need to watch the fights on the day. But I'd still recommend watching it because you want to see the whole thing, So anyway, she goes against Camooch. And in the fight, Camooch gets her in like a headlock while on her back, while they're standing. And it's really, really close because she's like, and then she knocks her off and she gets her in the armbar. She gets Camooch in the armbar. And she's the champion. And then basically it says about stuff about how who would have thought she would have got these movie roles and be doing, like magazine covers. And it's really just a really good documentary. It's just very tight. There's a bit in it as well near the end where she's watching a fight with Misha Tate against, I can't remember who the other one was, and she goes on about they're really going for it. It was to get a chance at a title. Well, the person who got a chance at a title was, if I think I'm correct, was Misha Tate again, but they didn't put that on there because this came out before that match did. But that's another pretty good match, that one. If you want to know one of the best matches, it's always Misha Tate versus Ronda Rousey because they've got that chemistry and it really pops. And in, I think it's 182, UFC 182, they go against each other and the match lasts quite a while. So yeah, anyway. Would I recommend the DVD, the documentary? Yes, I would. This has to be one of the best UFC documentaries I've seen. It's a nice cheap DVD. When I bought it, it was $9.99. And now on Best Buy, it's only $4.99. So that's fantastic value. I love the cover. I think the cover's very striking. And I just think overall, this is a fantastic documentary. It really goes into the character who Ronda Rousey is. Like with the stuff about her dad, the way her mum was kind of like an abusive mother. Not in a horrible way, but in the fact that she kind of forced her to do the judo. And then made her into the person she is now. It just shows that sometimes treating people hard can make them a champion like Ronda is. So it's a really great documentary. I highly recommend it. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 because I think it's not only just a good documentary, but it's a good idea of what a good character Ronda Rousey is. Now, right at the end, there's a bit where they raise money for people who are bulimic, and I thought that was really, really good. I thought that was a great thing to kind of end it on. So she says as well right at the end that she's not going to lose the title because the title's like her baby. Now, I get a bit fed up with this stuff, not because Ronda says it, but every single person who becomes champion goes, I'm never losing this belt. I'm not going to do this. It's my woman. It's my baby. And you just sit there going, okay, just shut up and do it, you know? So, yeah, I recommend UFC Ronda Rousey Breaking Ground. It's a great documentary. I can't fault it at all. It has great cinematography. It's really well directed. And it's nice and tight. You know, the problem with documentaries about sports is they're very loose most of the time. You want it tight in and you want to know about the persons involved. You want to get that feeling. And I felt that with Ronda Rousey. I felt like I got to know a part of her, but I want to know. Now, I'm hoping they do more like this with other fighters and other female fighters. I'd like to see a Misha Tate one, to be honest. And I'd like to see some other male ones like Charles Sonnen. You get what I mean. Cain Velasquez, I guess. Even though he was in one called Mexican Fighter, I think it was called. That had different Mexican fighters in it. But anyway, before the review gets too long, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you had fun watching this. If you'd like to see more UFC reviews or documentary reviews, let me know and give this a thumbs up. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Take care and have a lovely day. Thanks for watching, guys.